Hello everyone, welcome back to Gray's Horizons. In the last video I talked about realizing my old strategy wasn't enough and how I had to start thinking in terms of cycles, volatility, and real long-term security. Before we get into today's topic, I just wanted to mention a couple things. You've probably noticed I've been filming these videos while walking out in nature. I really enjoy getting outside with my dog. It gives us both a chance to stretch our legs, and it just feels like a good setting for reflection. I also wanted to apologize for some of the static you might be hearing in the audio. I didn't catch it at first, but I've noticed it more during playback. The microphone I'm using had over 2,000 4- and 5-star reviews on Amazon. But clearly it's not living up to the hype. A higher quality replacement is on the way, and hopefully it'll arrive in time for the next video. It is beautiful out right now, by the way. Today I want to share what I did next, what I started investing in, and why. A quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational and storytelling purposes only and reflects my personal experience. Always do your own research or talk to a licensed professional before making investment decisions. Let me start here. I had a 401k. A decent one, not spectacular, but I'd contributed consistently over the years. But at some point, I looked at the numbers and realized this alone isn't going to get me there. Not in the time frame I was working with. Not with the kind of freedom I wanted to build. And unlike my younger self, I didn't see a clear path to dramatically grow what was already in there. It felt locked in, limited, helpful, sure, but not transformative. That's when I knew I had to look outside the traditional system, not instead of, but in addition to. I couldn't rely solely on a preset allocation of index funds and target date plans. I needed the ability to time cycles, to learn from macro trends, to shift between assets as I saw the world changing. Let me take you back for a second. One of my very first experiences with investing came when I was young. My dad helped me use some of my modest allowance to buy silver. This was back in 1980, when silver was at crazy highs because the Hunt brothers had cornered the market. I still own that silver, and here's the thing. It never even returned to the price I paid for it. That early experience really warped how I saw precious metals. For years, I thought, gold and silver, that stuff's a scam. I'd hear ads and just roll my eyes. It wasn't until 2011, yes, decades later, that I finally bought gold. And I'll be honest, it was mostly FOMO. But here's the twist. I held on to it and now I'm well in the black. That taught me a lasting lesson. The time to buy a solid monetary asset isn't when the hype is loudest, it's when the cycle makes sense. That was a foundational mindset shift for me. Later in 2021, I started buying more silver, this time with clear intention. It was mostly as an inflation hedge, but also because something seemed off. Silver has been considered real money for millennia. It's not only a monetary metal, it's an industrial metal. It plays a key role in everything electric, everything green, and yet its current price doesn't even justify reclaiming it from spent solar panels or electronics. When you own tangible goods that have real value, something shifts. It grounds you. It helps you break away from spending on things that fade or break, and anchors your mindset in value that lasts. At a minimum, precious metals are a strong hedge against inflation. They don't come with the same wild swings, also known as volatility, as some other assets. But silver, if we keep going electric the way we are, I can't see how it doesn't move more than it already has. Overall, I'm up quite a bit on this. I'd been following the progression of Bitcoin since it started. Though I never understood it, I never bought any at the low price of $20 a coin when I first saw it, because I thought it got stored on my computer and I was worried about my disk crashing. Yeah, I didn't understand anything about it. I first played with $200 of Bitcoin and traded it for some crappy altcoin in 2018, thinking maybe this thing would blow up and I'd make a lot of cash. More gambling on my part. Finally, in 2020, I'd studied the history of Bitcoin, understood the use case and why this thing had the value it did. I was now convinced that there was something to this, and it definitely had real value. Bitcoin was about $7,000 when I first dove in and bought. Knowing the cycles consistently showed an explosion after a halvening. And Bitcoin was just about to go through with one. I continued to dollar cost average into it, stopping when I felt it was getting a little too hot. I've never been in the red on this investment, even when it crashed all the way down to $15,000. I was dollar cost averaging all the way down. Every time there was a significant price drop, I bought more. Another smart play. I knew that if Bitcoin ever did go away, it'd still be okay because I was consumer debt free and I had plenty of money saved in other places. But by this point, Bitcoin had established itself, and now institutions were buzzing about creating an ETF. Finally, I was thinking long term and continuing to study and learn about what it was that I was investing in. I also kept an eye on real assets. I'd already been a landlord once, and while I wasn't eager to go back into toilets and tenants, I understood the value of owning something real, something that holds weight when fiat currencies don't. After getting divorced, I found an apartment and lived on rent. The rent would increase year by year, and it started to feel like I was just throwing money into a pit that kept getting deeper. Eventually, I decided to buy something where my mortgage payment was exactly the same as my rent. That effectively locked in my payment and made me my own tenant. The good news? I now live in a much nicer place than my old apartment. For the same monthly cost I was paying when rents were cheaper. That one decision brought stability and quality of life. Two things you don't always get with rentals. It does look like we're about to enter a real estate market downturn. So now I'm looking at potential real estate options again. The difference this time, back in 2008, I wasn't in the position I'm in now. I was much more at the mercy of the market than I am today. If I do decide to make a move, I'll let you know what I'm up to. Beyond that, I began thinking in terms of control. Self-directed accounts, side projects, anything that gave me upside without the limitations. of traditional retirement accounts. This YouTube channel is one example of that. If the system can't give me a pension, I have to build one myself. What I chose wasn't about hype. I actually prefer things when the hype dies down or the masses lose interest. It was about patterns, about volatility I could understand, about learning from my past and staying away from leverage, margin, and the illusion of control. I needed a strategy that could compound, that could adjust, that gave me ownership over the outcome. In future videos, I'll go deeper into how I think about timing, not guessing, but understanding where we are in the cycle and how that informs my decisions. If you're starting to wonder whether your current plan will really carry you through, I hope this gave you a few things to consider. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're walking this path too. I'm figuring it out day by day, and I'd love to catch you in the next video. Bye.